Imagine a conflict invisible to human eyes, yet deciding the fate of entire nations. A battle fought between light and darkness, happening in another dimension, but directly affecting life on Earth. On one side, Archangel Gabriel, the messenger of God, who carries with him the light of hope. On the other, the demonic Prince of Persia, a dark, powerful entity determined to prevent the fulfillment of divine will. This is the story of a spiritual war, a confrontation of epic proportions that you never imagined. Today, you will discover how the battle between angels and demons took place in the shadows of the universe while the destinies of kingdoms were being decided. Prepare to witness a battle that goes far beyond what your eyes can see. To understand this battle, it's essential first to contextualize Gabriel's mission. We are in the 6th century before Christ, during the Babylonian captivity. Daniel, the prophet, has been fasting and praying fervently for answers about the future of his people. He needed answers to the evils and problems that afflicted him, as Jerusalem was immersed in suffering. At that time, Daniel observed how his beloved city faced the worst evils caused by the people's sins and by the enemies of God. Jerusalem, the sacred city, had been condemned to 70 years of famine, slavery, and suffering, and Daniel, deeply moved, sought divine intervention to alleviate his nation's burden. In response to these intense pleas, God sends Gabriel, one of the most powerful archangels, to deliver a divine message to Daniel. But this would not be an easy task. The evil forces that govern the earthly realms were ready to block any aid coming from above. Gabriel faced not only the mission of delivering the divine message, but also a path filled with adversities and spiritual obstacles. For several days, Daniel maintained his fast, with the hope that God would hear his prayers and provide an answer to his plea. As Gabriel traverses the plains to fulfill his mission, he is intercepted by a malevolent presence, the Prince of Persia. This demonic entity is not just any spirit, but one of the principalities, a type of demon with power over territories and nations. The prince's first strike is brutal, attacking Gabriel with a force that reflects the control he holds over the region. The battle is spiritual, but its effects reverberate on the earthly planes. People feel an inexplicable restlessness as the celestial forces clash. The Prince of Persia was dark and dreadful. This demonic being had a face that resembled lightning, with hands and feet that were formidable, radiating power and menace. Bronze horns adorned his head like a crown, and red lights emanated from his eyes, reflecting his malevolent nature and his fury against any interference. The vision of this being was frightening, symbolizing the resistance of darkness against the divine light, trying to prevent God's message from reaching Daniel. Gabriel, enveloped in divine light, fights with all his might. His flaming sword shines like the sun, each strike echoing through the heavens and the spiritual realms. The Prince of Persia, covered in shadows that seem to absorb the light around him, uses dark chains that coil around Gabriel, trying to hold him back. They fight for 21 uninterrupted days, an intense and exhausting battle. Every move Gabriel makes is executed with precision, his celestial armor reflecting God's glory as he faces an enemy with no intention of retreating. As the battle rages on, you can imagine the sky above them splitting, one part bathed in golden light, reflecting hope and justice, and the other shrouded in shadows, representing chaos and oppression. Gabriel fights with the intention of fulfilling the divine will and bringing God's message to Daniel. But the prince is determined to prevent any glimmer of light from reaching earth. The shadows try to engulf Gabriel, and it is in this moment that we realize just how powerful the confrontation between angels and demons is. It is more than a physical battle. It is a clash of wills. After 21 days of intense fighting, an even more powerful presence emerges. Archangel Michael, the commander of the heavenly armies. Michael not only brings with him an unparalleled force, but also a divine authority that immediately alters the course of the battle. When Michael enters the scene, the darkness surrounding the Prince of Persia begins to dissipate. Michael's light is like lightning cutting through the darkness, forcing the prince to retreat. The union of Gabriel and Michael becomes an unbeatable force, and together, they break the prince's chains, clearing the way for Gabriel to fulfill his mission. With Michael's intervention, Gabriel finally reaches Daniel. He brings the message that reveals God's plans for the future, the challenges to come, and the hope for his people. When Daniel receives the message, he understands the depth of the spiritual conflict that occurred while he prayed. He realizes that his prayers were at the center of an invisible war, a war involving angels and demons fighting for the very answers he sought, divine answers. In this biblical account, the battle consisted of a struggle for influence, where each angel tried to persuade the king to make a specific decision. We can imagine the Prince of Persia whispering in Cyrus's ear, "These Jews are not to be trusted. They have rebelled before and caused problems for your kingdom. You must stop the construction of their temple." Meanwhile, God's angel sought to counterbalance this negative influence, encouraging Cyrus, "You are the anointed of God, chosen to liberate his people. Keep allowing the construction, and God will bless you for it." With Christ's help, Cyrus finally made his decision. With Michael's intervention and Gabriel's persistence, the spiritual conflict unfolded into a victory for God's people. This episode shows that there are antagonistic forces constantly acting upon us, trying to lead us to evil or good. Just as Daniel remained steadfast in his prayers, we must seek to hear God's voice speaking to our hearts and act in accordance with his will. Conclude the video reflecting on the importance of this battle. This was not just a fight between two powerful entities, but a reminder that spiritual battles are real and happen around us, even if we cannot see them. The story of Gabriel and the demonic Prince of Persia is a clear demonstration of how the spiritual universe directly affects the physical world. It is a call for all of us to maintain our faith, for we never know how much our prayers and actions may be influencing a battle far greater than we can imagine. Battles between good and evil are always happening, and our faith can be a powerful weapon in this invisible war. If you liked the video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel.